It was great because we were able, part one, we established how everybody writes, how everybody plays, what everybody's styles were. Bless you. And with part two, we were able to, all right, Doug knows that I can write, Joe can write. Now it's not just, it's all on him. We're expecting him to write lyrics. We're expecting him to come up with the riff. Now we can all have our 2 cents here and there. And we were able to collaborate a lot better. We understand Brandon's style, which made it a lot easier to write songs. I wouldn't say easier, but it flowed better. And so with part two, we were able to go just a little darker because we wanted to experiment with something. All right, part one was a little more on the pop punk side, and then all right, we have all these. We were all going through different things, which kind of reflected onto part two, whether it be breakups or getting kicked out of houses, whatever. So with part two, we were able to pretty much express ourselves in a different way, and it worked out because with that, we were able to discover that Joe has a different style than Devin when it comes to playing guitar. I had my own song, which made it a little more fun. We had to make it a little fun with my own song, and then and it worked out because we were able to also trade back and forth instruments, which is something that we're going to be working on for the next album. Is I could play this, or you could play that. I could sing this and that. So we're able to expand more as musicians in our creative process for writing the next album.
Yeah, I think it was really cool because when you look at our discography, and there's a clear progression, and neither one of our records sound similar. I mean, there's definitely similarities in certain in certain aspects. When you look at Lies and Alibis, it was really a matter of all right, guys, here's 3 songs I wrote, let's record them. You know what I mean? And that was it. Really, it was just I recorded the songs, Devin put some lead to it, and really that was it. With part two, it was Gons came in about halfway through. Part one, sorry. Yeah. Gons came in about halfway through, so there was a lot of the songs that were really kind of the basis of the songs were basically all written, and so we all kind of added our own touches to it based on songs that were already written. Now, right. with part two, I think was really cool because I don't think we really were planning on. I mean, we knew we were obviously going to do part 1, 2, and 3, but we weren't going into practice really trying to write a new record. It was just we were sitting in a room just writing as many songs as we could. We wrote 25, 30 songs, and then we narrowed it down to 6.
Yeah, I think we played maybe 3 or 4 full songs. Mm-hmm. The ones that aren't even on part 2.
Yeah.
And we were just these aren't good enough. And it was well, remember playing this song? Yeah. No, we should bring it back.
I think the best way to look at it is you look at a song like Girls Night Out, which is a song that Gons and Joe performed in another band that they had. And the song was more... It was almost like a fun hitch in the ride.
Yeah.
And then we just took it and we dissected every single note of it and turned it around. And then I was like, you know what, Gons, you should sing on this song. And I think that opened
Yeah, because I was trying to teach you the lyrics.
Yeah.
And then you're well, you already know it.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch.
Yeah. And I think that really kind of opened up a new thing. It's okay, cool. Well, we can all sing. But we knew Joe could sing because Joe's, he was the singer of Gons' other band. Mm-hmm. And then you take another song like Underneath the X, which was a song that I literally had this super, super simple riff. And it was the most simplistic song in the world. And I showed it to the guys 2 days before we hit the studio. And then we hit the studio and we just went with it. And it's funny because that is the simplest song we've ever written, but it's also the most complex song that we've ever written too. So, and I think that's a cool song too because we got to show off Joe's vocal ability on that too. So I think the difference between part 2 and part 1 is we just weren't necessarily sitting there consciously trying to write a record. It was just 4 dudes in a room having fun, and this was the best 6 songs that we came out with.
Yeah, I think Underneath the X is probably the best example of all of us having an input on that song. When you came in with that simple riff, we're oh, this is this is really easy. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
And then Brandon, he actually started the ball rolling on how complex it got with his drums. It was like, okay, well, I can't play something simple over that. So then I started doing my bassline thing, and that's when Joe started doing. He kept with the original strumming of that Doug came up with, and then Doug's vocals, I think, are probably one of the best I've heard come out for this song. It was just perfect, and
I went full Billy Joe.
He did. And Joe, I was like, and then Joe went in, he sang the pre-chorus, and he did the backing vocals, which just brought it to, added so much more color to it too, complementing Doug's voice really well. And when we were writing this too, I was coming back from New York, and I wrote down these lyrics, and I sent them to Doug, and I was like, hey, I think this is gonna work for this song. He's like, that's perfect because I have this, and it worked out really well.
Yeah. It's kind of weird how, like, we wrote the same song without knowing that we wrote the same song. Like, Gonz wrote these lyrics, and I was writing these lyrics, and I was like, you know what? Like, this is essentially the same subject matter. Why don't we just combine them? And that's what we did.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that we have Joe on there, because I think one of the things that sets us apart, I mean, you know, most people when they hear Dreams of Vertigo, they hear Brandon's drums, which is, you know, it's like when you hear Blink, the first thing you hear is Travis Barker, right? That makes sense, right? But I think the other thing that we've kind of shown with this last record is we have 3 very capable vocalists, you know, and I think the other side to that is that we all, like, when I sing, people know it's Doug. When Gonz sings, we know it's Gonz. When Joe sings, we know it's Joe. Like, we all have very distinct voices, and I think it blends really well. And I think the other cool thing about Underneath the X is we could, now that we have 3 vocalists, we can have 3-part harmonies, which is something that I've just always wanted since I started the band.
So,
yeah. My favorite moment was having Tony on our record, because, you know, that was a huge thing for me. You know, anybody that listens to Mest can clearly see the influence of Mest and Dreams of Vertigo. I almost said Green Day.
Yeah.
I really think that I'm in Green Day. That's really weird. I mean, I guess my favorite moment is, you know, just having that, you know, first listen of Facade and hearing Tony's vocals on there. It just is phenomenal.